Looking at the market right now, we're seeing a little bit of a bounce intraday, but we started the day off clearly towards the downside. We came down to around 573 on the S&P. NASDAQ came almost back into lows. It was a lot of selling. You're seeing this mix of what's happening with Trump and tariffs that he might ease on Mexico, some automakers, things like that. I don't think that's going to happen. We'll see what happens, though, as we progress. But again, as we look at the chart, that's important to realize. We look at what's happening with volume as well. We've seen upticking volume over the past few days. And again, today's volume's a little bit more dry, around 36 million, which is still pretty high, all things considered, if we go back. But right now, I would assume if selling doesn't occur, you hit around 50 to 55 million in volume if it stays the way we are right now with no big change. So going into the market, what we're looking at, I really want to go over three big names here today. I want to go over NVDA, Apple, and what's happening with Tesla, and maybe a few others, but those are the big ones that I'm watching as of right now. Now, one of the stronger names I have mentioned has been Amazon off the 200 SMA, and you're going to realize a going theme right now is if these big names are sitting below their 100 or their 200, I don't really want to trade them or even look for upside. And something that I've told Discord and something that I keep saying is I don't even really want to focus on upside on the market as of right now until NASDAQ can at least get back above its 200 daily moving average, which we basically just rejected at like 3-4 times now. So again, not really a good look, but you are steady trying to hold up as we speak. So when we go into these other names, it's important to think and realize that. Now, as you go into NVIDIA, number one, we talked about this yesterday. Again, you had that sell-off pushing back down. What you would like to see is getting back below basically Friday lows. And then we also have a level here as well. Jay has this from Discord around 115.8, give or take, which again, you're just kind of ranging through. So you're not getting great action here on NVIDIA. Now, the thing that I'll say what's happening here with NVIDIA and what's happening with the market as a whole is you've moved down quite a bit in like the past week or so, right? Since the 20, I mean, really 2 weeks, right? Of downside, just a lot of downside overall. So it's not surprising that you're trying to find some buyers here. But where the underlying problem here is when you go look at SMH, the semiconductor ETF, and this is concerning. You have your 100 about to cross down below your 200. This is very, very concerning looking at SMH. And again, we know we don't really have support until we at least get down to 213, 215, give or take. And then, we saw some of those wicks yesterday, and I think this will most likely continue, right? But you still are in this position to where SMH could break, retest, and continue back down from that breakdown that we had previously there as well. So it's important when we're looking at semis that we're understanding that. We saw AVGO come into its 200, bouncing off that as well, finding some buyers. Definitely one of the stronger semis out there in the market, outperforming NVIDIA up 2% on the day. NVIDIA is almost up around 1% so far. So it's important that we're understanding what's really taking place out there. Now, again, this doesn't turn me bullish on these names because you're below your 100 MA here, kind of just in this range. Just like we looked at Amazon on AVGO, and I'm going to come back to NVIDIA, but like you're just in this range now between your 100 and your 200. So when I go back into NVIDIA, I'm still looking at that downside. Until NVIDIA can get back above its 200, which could take some time of 127, I don't know how we're really looking at upside in the short term. Now, again, I do think long-term buying stock, holding for getting the end makes logical sense, but from an options viewpoint, it doesn't make really any sense for me. So important to understand that. Before we go into the other names, I do want to say right now, if you're interested in Discord, the link is down below. Make sure you tap in, check it out. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not, but you can see where we're trading, what we're looking at all day long, all the charts, all the technical setups that we're looking at, what invalidates our trades, everything in between. We're literally mentioning them all day long. Trade ideas as well, what's happening there with Tesla, what's happening with our other trades, and then obviously our rundowns and breakdowns every single day and what's happening there as well. So again, what we're looking at. So as of right now, looking NVIDIA, that's my opinion. I'm looking for more downside when we get back below 115.8 for confirmation. And again, another big sign of like just not great action today was near market open. Let me get rid of the drawings. You can see market opens about right here, and you were just going through VWAP for the first like 2 hours of trading, which is just brutal. Not what you want to see. So again, as we mount this, you're not really seeing any great buying. So again, that's why I'm just kind of sitting on the sidelines. I'm not favoring the upside. I'm waiting for sellers to give me more of a perspective and a viewpoint. Now, the biggest and best play that we mentioned from yesterday into today was definitely Apple. We talked about this in yesterday's video last night. And again, we said below the 100 MA, you're looking down to 230, possibly 226. I mean, really, it was like 232, but you went down deeper into 230.7, which was that previous low that you had back here from February 12th. And you went a little bit deeper there as well. So again, you're finding buyers off this. I mean, in a perfect world, you get a break and retest. Like you break down, you retest 100 MA, you pop back down. Again, a name that looks like this is Amazon, right? Amazon got a bigger bounce. It had really good news that was announced, and then you went above and you got back below and then you died down, right? So break, retest, continuation. ideal, right? And I think Apple, even going into today, as I'm making this video, still looks like a great opportunity on the downside. They are releasing new products, but again, I don't think it's going to create any upside in the short term. And I think you're really looking for Apple to finally get a touch of the 200 SMA, which has kind of been like eluding that level. So again, important to be looking at that. As I look at Apple, again, 226, 227 is really where I see this thing going. Would not shock me if that happens sooner than later, most likely into tomorrow. You're already down quite a bit on the day, or at lows you were down, what was that, $7 on the day. So pretty crazy to see where we're at and how we're moving, especially with the speed on there as well. Now, another name here is Tesla, and this is probably one of the biggest, most day traded names out there. And I'm going to tell you something very, very simple. Okay, very, very simple on Tesla. As long as you are below the 200 SMA, I don't know why you're looking to go long. Zero idea. You have a major level here, like at 273.5. But even above that, if you're holding below the 200 SMA, there's no reason to go long. It still looks like downside. Now, I got stopped out of a trade. I was about to go short when you broke down out of this low. You popped back up. Just didn't get the action that I wanted. But that doesn't constitute going long. You still look like trash. You're still, again, this is the definition of a bear trend, downside trend. Lower highs, lower lows, nonstop. Again, you have your gap fill into 255, your gap fill down to 215. Tesla, in my opinion, just taking a sweet time, ready to die once more. Again, volume is not even upticking on any of this buying. You can see down here as well, right? You're getting a little bit of upticking and then selling increases as you start to push back down. Not what you want to see. So as of right now, Tesla still looks really bad. And again, I want to be very clear. There's no reason to even go long. Even if Tesla gets above the 200, I probably won't even want to touch it until NASDAQ gets above its 200, 20,700. You can't do nothing until then. Again, I'll have a video going over futures tonight, but that's what you're looking at right now when it comes to NASDAQ, when it comes to all these names as well. So again, it's important to take a step back, look at what's happening overall in the market. And again, you're realizing even though NASDAQ's bouncing, you're not really getting any level in these names, right? Like NVIDIA's holding up $1 on the day, but like all things considered, are you even bouncing at all here? Not really. It's still the same thing. Looks very weak. Minuscule buying as of right now. Volume still in the downtrend. Not really what you want to see. So again, what we're looking at, what we're watching. Okay. Now a few names. Again, I went over a little bit of AVGO. What's happening there? I'm watching Meta as well. Meta is actually one of the better looking names. I mentioned this in Discord as well. Someone asked about it. Volume isn't great, but again, you're getting back above your level 638, trying to bounce, fill that gap. But again, you're just not seeing the buying that you want to see on the market. It's just like, that's the only thing. The only name that really looks good out there in the market today, in my opinion, is a name like Amazon. And it makes sense why you're bouncing. You go into your 200 SMA, NASDAQ finding a little bit of buying, Amazon's thriving off this, okay? You also have to realize yesterday we had the Dow touch your 200 SMA, which you kind of came down potentially trying to set a double bottom. We'll see what happens here. But again, like you're finding support at these big levels. And I was very clear about this as well. Like when you go look at indexes, they've taken a pretty big hit over the past 10 trading days, right? It's important to realize you're getting a little bit exhausted down here. You're finding some buying at big levels. Does that mean you're going to bounce and you're going to get, the bottom is in? I don't believe so, but it's important that you're, slowing down as you're getting to a checkpoint, if you will, right? It's like if you're on the highway and there's a toll road and you have to slow down and actually pay in cash, which no one does anymore. But if you had to, you're not just going to speed and just slam on your brakes when you get there and then slam on your gas to get right out of it, right? You expect to slow down, sit there and see what happens, and hopefully you have enough money to pay for it, right? So that's where we're at right now when we look at what's happening here on Dow. You're coming into those levels. NASDAQ, again, came right into our levels, finding support where we kind of expected us as well, right? Everything's kind of just at these points right now. I don't think things have changed. I don't think there's been a big decision of decide to go long. I think it's just being patient where we're at. Again, nothing's fundamentally changed with tariffs. There was nothing announced at the State of Union address. Nothing that's changed the overall visual of the market, landscape of fundamentals, and what's really kept us bearish in the short, time that we have been over the past 2 or 3 weeks. So again, what we're looking at, keeping my head on a swivel, being patient, not a lot of big setups that we're seeing here. Again, I think Apple might be, again, one of your better setups if you can get a retest of the 100 and reject. But ultimately, what we're looking at, again, going into the end of the day, I don't expect buying to increase volume. I will say a buying does increase in volume as we go into the end of the day. If we see a bounce and we see volume uptick, I would like that. That would be a good potential start to get us back above the 200 and hold. But again, if we start seeing volume upticking rapidly, which we're not seeing that good of volume this morning, if we see upticking in volume to the downside, again, it just points to more continuation in a stickier situation, right? There, a lot of this news is up in the air. So again, it's important that you're being flexible with what you're doing right now and not getting over aggressive in one direction or the other. But that's what I'm looking at. If you have questions, comment down below. Make sure you're following on Twitter so you get the updates as well. I'll try to keep you guys posted on there if we see anything else and what's developing. But again, links are down below. Have a good one, traders.